You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is Tony Award winning actor Reed Birney. And we're going to be
Hello.
talking about his recently Gotham Independent Film Award nomination for Outstanding Supporting Performance in the movie Mass, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So, congratulations on
Thank
your
you, Jan.
nomination.
Thank you. It was flabbergasting. I never in a million years expected it. So it was a very nice thing.
It is. It is. It's. Very exciting. That's a pretty big award. So it's nice, and it's nice. This movie is starting to get a lot of recognition, and it's starting to get some Oscar buzz. So that's also very exciting too. And it's just a wonderful film. Oh my God! I brought my tissues. Thank God.
Yes. It's really something. I saw it the other night on the big screen with an audience for the very first time. And it's an overwhelming experience, even for me, who's in it. I've never seen anything like it, honestly.
I haven't either. What was it like with an audience? That would be really interesting to be a little
Well,
fly on the wall.
yeah, it was certainly meant to be seen in a theater with an audience. So, and I'd seen it many times, on my computer or small screens. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. To see people touched in such a profound way by it. It's very gratifying. I don't think we ever, when we were making the movie, the four of us, Ann Dowd, Jason Isaacs Martha Plimpton, and I don't think we ever do the thing that actors do where we sit and fantasize about the reception of the movie. If you got a spare minute, actors are like, how do you think we're going to do? Maybe we never did that. I think because we were so excited about making the movie and so thrilled with this beautiful script and these beautiful parts that we just love being in the moment.
It's an actor's film. There's no question about that. It's all about the actors. And Fran Kranz, who was the writer director of this, he's also an actor too. He
Wonderful
wrote
actor.
what?
He's a wonderful actor.
Oh yeah, he wrote this specifically for you. Out of
He
all the roles,
did.
he had you in mind, and he wrote this for you. So what was that like for you to know that he had actually written it for you?
Well, it was incredibly flattering. He sent it to me in an email in October of 18. And, you know, actors are always writing scripts, and usually they're not so good. I don't know, in my experience. So I opened it with some trepidation, knowing that Fran had never written anything before, not really knowing what to expect. I certainly didn't expect it to be as polished and beautiful and complicated and rich as it is. It's an astonishing first screenplay. I feel like not since Orson Welles and Citizen Kane has there been a screenwriting and directing debut like this.
It says a whole lot. It really does. So our audience knows what we're talking about. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what Mass is about?
Mass is a new movie that's just coming out across the country about two couples who agree to meet 6 years after a school shooting. And our couple is Ann Dowd and I. Our son Hayden shot their son, Martha Plimpton and Jason Isaacs. And they have asked to meet with us for closure and healing and understanding. And I would say we're all reluctant to be there, but we are also out of options, all of us. We know we need to be there. My character, Richard, is probably the least enthusiastic about being there. I think he's spent 6 years being judged and parsed over and written about. And I think he is sick of all of it. I think he doesn't feel like he can possibly win. So he comes in with the barest amount of enthusiasm about being there. He really feels like the first thing he says is, I have to leave in an hour. And his attitude is, I'll answer, what do you want to know? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Goodbye, I think is how he feels. And in a real way, I feel like Richard of the four of us is the most tragic character because he really does not take advantage of this opportunity to look at his feelings and heal.
We're having a little audio difficulty here. Okay, hopefully it's
Are you
better.
hearing me?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but anyhow, we'll continue to go and see what
Okay.
happens. Okay. Yeah, and can you repeat that last part because it was so beautiful? About how he was.
Well, I think Richard, my character, is the most tragic character in the movie, because he is absolutely unwilling to look at his feelings and take advantage of this opportunity of meeting with the other family to look at his feelings, to examine his feelings and heal. And so he leaves virtually unchanged. And it's really, I think, a cautionary tale about what happens when you don't deal with grief.
Right. I think, it's interesting because it's a great cast. I mean, it's
It's
just
beautiful.
Jason Isaacs in a role that we don't kind of see him in, often, and Ann Dowd, who's always amazing and wonderful, and Martha Plimpton, the same thing, always wonderful and amazing. And it was just great, chemistry between all of you and the way you were. But your role, and I think that's, when I read that you had gotten the nomination, the Gotham Award nomination, it's like your role is the hardest one, because you're right. You don't get to really, everybody else is expressing their feelings and lots of things change,
Yes,
transpire, but your character doesn't. I
he
mean,
is determined. He is determined to not change. And it's really heartbreaking.
and it's hard. It's hard as an actor to play that.
Well, it is hard on one hand, but on the other hand, it's actually thrilling because I have a very clear obstacle to play in holding in everything. So anytime there's an impulse as an actor, I think we as actors sort of love to cry and get upset. And so any sort of impulse I might have as an actor to take it to that place, that's not who he is. So I really have to keep it all buttoned in, and wonderful things happen when you do that. When you actually, I remember I once saw a movie, and the actor in it got really upset and he started kicking a file cabinet, and something about it rang so false to me. And I thought, yeah, it's actors love to kick file cabinets. I think I'm much more interested in the man who wants to kick a file cabinet and can't, who won't let himself kick the file cabinet. Because then that behavior all comes out in some other really interesting, unexpected way.
So the audience, how did the audience respond to it?
Well, there was lots of crying and lots of sniffling. And I ran, when I was out in the lobby afterwards, several of the audience members recognized me, and we had a really beautiful conversation just about how important the movie was to them. I think the movie does something that a lot of movies don't do anymore, and maybe never did. I think it really, it's a serious movie. It's a life-affirming movie, as grim a watch as it can be, dealing with parents losing children and school shootings. It's very challenging in that way, but the reward is huge, because I think Fran was determined to not have it be a downer. It was determined to have us take away at the end that these are ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances who rise to the occasion, and to let us know that we all can do extraordinary things if we let ourselves. When these horrible murders happen, I know the first thing I think is, how are these parents ever going to survive? Because it's inconceivable how you could survive. And yet people do. Not everybody does, but people do. People become determined to move forward. And I think that's really what Fran is talking about. It is in the context of a school shooting, but in a very real way, it doesn't matter what brings them to this room. It's about people who need to heal and their willingness to heal. And we all have something we want to be forgiven for, and we all have people we need to forgive. And I think that's really what the movie is addressing.
About forgiveness and everything. I think, when we start carrying all of that, whatever it may be, anger, whatever, and we it only is detrimental to us, not to the other person. So forgive
Come
me.
to find out.
Yeah, really, how it affects our health and everything
Yeah.
else,
Who knew? Who
Yeah,
knew?
who knew, right? What it was, one of the things that, I think many of us don't really think about is the parents of someone who is the shooter and what
Well,
they're going through, because especially if their child also died in the incident, but
yes.
they're being vilified, as you show, and we don't think about that. We don't think about they've lost just as much, if not more.
And right, they have lost their beloved child, and then they have the guilt and the shame of having raised a murderer. Two completely, seemingly irreconcilable feelings. And I've never seen a movie that talks about that.
No, I haven't.
I've never seen a play that talks about that. I know God of Carnage, which I've never seen, I know addresses sort of school bullying, which is, the same kind of thing to a lesser degree. But this is four people at a table for 95 minutes. No escape. There's no escaping the room. And that's one of the most thrilling things about it. People tell me that they are on the edge of their seats watching it as if it were Die Hard. You're so anxious about what's going to happen. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie. I'm so proud to be in it. And I really hope everybody goes to see it.
Well, I hope so too, because and it sounds like when you say, "Oh, well, it's four people sitting in a room at a table," people go, "Oh, really? That's got to be boring."
Oh, I
But it's
know. I
anything
know.
but. It's anything but.
Well, I think
Yeah,
when
go
the
ahead.
four of us got the script, I think Jason specifically, but all of us sort of thought, how in the world is that going to work? Yes, we have My Dinner with Andre and we have 12 Angry Men. There are movies that take place in a room. But to have this take place in a room and deal with the intensity of the subject matter is unprecedented, I think.
I definitely agree. I agree. So you Ann Dowd plays your wife in this film, and you both were what in The Handmaid's Tale? Is that what you
Yes,
were
in
both in?
this past season, yes,
Did,
we.
so did you work
Which was
directly with her in
I did, I
scenes?
did, and it was sort of an outreach or a happenstance from having done Mass. I ran into Elizabeth Moss at Sundance in January of 2020. We had just made Mass, and I knew Elizabeth from New York, and I said, I just made this movie with Anne, and she said, "Oh, I know." And then she says, I said, which I don't remember saying, "I'd love to be on Handmaid's Tale." I'd never watched Handmaid's Tale at that point. My family had. So she went back to Toronto, and the script for our episode was on her desk. And as she was reading it, she thought, "Oh, Reed would actually be good in it." So that's how it works. That's how show business works.
How it worked. It's who you know. Who you meet in Sundance. This film also premiered at Sundance
Yes, it
this
did this
past
past
year.
January.
Did you
Um,
go, or did you do the
well, it
virtual?
was all virtual this year,
Right.
which
That's
was
right. Yeah.
disappointing
Yes.
because it would have been such a good time to be there and see it premiere in a big screening with
Right.
everybody. But
Okay.
I will say the response to it at Sundance was so thrilling. It got the best reviews of any movie at Sundance this year, and it wasn't in competition, but it really was so thrilling to have it finally out there and to have this sort of fantasy response come true.
It's that wonderful. And this year they're going to be doing the hybrid. I think more and more festivals are going to continue to do the virtual
Yes,
and
I think
in
so.
person. And I think we'll see that from now on. I think it's broadened the audience. More people it makes
Well,
the whole
yes,
experience more available. Although I love going to Sundance and being there and being in the snow and trudging around and all of that.
yes. It's
It,
great.
it
But I
is
think there are many things from the pandemic that will stick around. I think Zoom certainly turns
definitely.
out is going to be, wish I'd put some money in Zoom.
I know. I
Oh,
think we all
oh
did.
well, live
Oh
and learn.
well. Who knew? Who knew? So, well, you're working on another very exciting film. Why we couldn't get you on earlier is that you're in a new film called The Menu, and it's got a
Yes.
great cast. It's got Rafe Fiennes, Anna Taylor-Joy. She's the hot actress of the moment, and Nicholas Hoult. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I just got back on Monday from Savannah where we were filming, and I've been there for 2 months. And I will tell you, I had one of the all-time great times of my life and career making this movie. It's Rafe plays a chef at a very exclusive restaurant on an island, and he invites 12 people to come for the meal of their lives. And once we're all there, turns out he's got a bone to pick with each of us, and it gets very Agatha Christie, and hijinks ensue. Some of it is very funny, and then it gets pretty terrifying.
Oh,
And because all of us are in the room the whole time, it's very Robert Altman, and it sort of felt like we were doing a play in a way, because we really became a company, which was great. Wonderful people, wonderful actors, John Leguizamo, Janet McTeer, Judith Light. Yeah, just great people.
Oh, I can't wait to see that one. We'll have you back on to talk about that one
wonderful.
a little bit more too. But that's the way I feel about Mass too. It feels like a play.
Yes, it in its lifetime, it was a play for a period of time, because it seems quite obvious. It's 4 people sitting at a table. But the truth is, it's really better as a movie, because you can come in so close, and it's, as our producer said to Fran when he decided to turn it into a film, it's too intimate for a play. And so you get to have the glory of close-ups. If it had been a play, we would have all sort of had to be on one side of the table, and you'd have to find reasons for people to get up and walk around. And that would just dilute the power of the 4 of us trapped at that table together.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I can see exactly what you're saying. You filmed this in Idaho. So and you had a very short filming schedule, right? 14 days or something like that?
2 weeks from top to bottom. About 3.5 or 4 days were spent with the opening and closing of the movie. So we only had 8 days sitting at the table with the 4 of us. But we shot in chronological order, which was fantastic and essential. We shot about 10 pages a day. So we knew each day that this was the ending point. We had to end when the sun went down because of the windows in the room. So we knew 5 o'clock we were done. And then we all went out to dinner and laughed our heads off, and then went back to somebody's hotel room and ran lines for the next day. It was like the most glorious actor camp ever.
That sounds like a great time. God. I mean, again, with these great, and it's good that you all got along so well too, because if you didn't, then that could have been a disastrous experience.
And there were so many miraculous things about it. We all liked each other enormously. We have remained deep, beloved friends as a result of it. The weather was fantastic because it was November. We could have had snow, which would have really screwed us up looking out the window. Why is there snow suddenly? So many things worked in our favor. And I'm sure that Fran and the producers had their nightmares behind the scenes, but none of us ever knew about them.
And Fran did such a wonderful job. This is his first film, writing and directing.
Unbelievable.
So and as I said, he's an actor. How was that experience for you?
Well, I know he's a wonderful actor because I've seen him in things. He was in Death of a Salesman with Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Bernard, and he was terrific. And then he was in this revival of You Can't Take It With You with James Earl Jones, where he was the juvenile, and he was so charming and delightful. He played the Jimmy Stewart role in the movie, and he was like Jimmy Stewart, and he was completely adorable, completely captured the style, and yet was incredibly modern at the same time. Really difficult. Not everybody can do that. And so I knew he was a wonderful actor, and had great taste. So that reassured all of us, I think. He couldn't have written this beautiful script if he weren't a real artist. And so he was a very gentle director because he's an actor. He knows exactly how to talk to us, when to push and when to let us go. what to share, what not to share. It was really great. We had 2.5 days of rehearsal in New York about 3 weeks before we left for Idaho, which was fantastic. It was what we in the theater call table work, where we sit at the table and read the script and ask questions and make suggestions. But mostly we knew that we had a big, important job to do that was going to involve a lot of trust and vulnerability. So those 2.5 days were really about bonding. And then we had 3 weeks in which to let it all percolate with each other in our heads as we worked on the script. So we knew when we arrived in Idaho who we were going to be with, and we were ready to go.
Yeah, well, that's what made it so streamlined, because you already, were able
Yeah,
to.
very smart of Fran.
Yeah, to start from that. Had you ever met Jason Isaacs or Ann Dowd or Martha Plimpton prior to this experience?
I knew Martha a little bit from New York, just a handful of times. I had done a reading with her and we'd had a great time. And then I saw her in London when I was doing the Humans there in 2018. So, and we hung out a little bit, but nothing like what we went through. But I knew her well enough to call her up and, talk about stuff. And there was a sort of a complicated casting process. After I was cast, I think Martha was next, and then Jason, and then Fran was really taking a little while to cast Anne. So there was a lot of like, what about this? What about that? And then when Anne became available, it was like, oh, that's problem solved right there.
They're all, it's a great, great cast. It's just a beautiful film. People should definitely go see this on the big screen. It's out now, right? It's out at this moment.
It's out, it's rolling across the country. And I think there's some nice awards conversation happening. So if it's not at a theater near you, maybe it will come back if we get some award heat. I've been nominated for the Gotham, as you said, and that's November 29th. And then we're looking forward to the Independent Spirit Awards and SAG Awards and all that, all of that stuff.
I definitely, as I said, there's buzz out there around this film already, and so I see my little clairvoyant mind.
Well, I mean, I do want to say again, it's not like any movie I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of movies. It's incredibly powerful. If you like good acting and if you like grown-up stories, then this is really right up your alley.
It's a movie for adults, for grown-ups. It really is. And I know I read a lot, obviously, and there's still, they say there's a little hesitancy about the older audience coming back to the theater, but you have to give them a reason to want to come to the theater to go see it, all that's really out there. Well, there are some good films out there too, but the big blockbusters, and also when we know they can come right on, we're going to get them at home in a couple of weeks or at the same time.
I think our movie will be on Hulu in March, and it'll be on video on demand in January. So people will be able to.
So people can see it prior to the Oscars and prior to the nominations being announced.
Yes.
We have about a little minute or so, but what made you decide to become an actor, Reed?
Jan, I was one of those freakish little kids that always knew he wanted to be an actor. I remember saying to some grown-ups at probably age 5 that I wanted to be an actor. I remember looking up at them all. They were sort of circled around me. And I said I wanted to be an actor, and they all laughed very nervously and looked at each other like it was this odd little boy. How does he even know what an actor is? But, I feel like it was a gift that was entrusted to me. Honestly, I don't feel like it's mine at all. I'm just the caregiver of it. And when I had many, many, many years of not being terribly successful, you really start to doubt I started to feel like I wasn't a good caregiver. And that was hard, to feel like I had a gift that I wasn't taking care
That's a really powerful. Think about it in that way. That's very powerful. Well, what an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you,
It was a
Jan. It's so nice to
pleasure.
see you. Thank you.
You too. And I look forward to having you back on the show when the menu
Wonderful.
comes out.
Anytime. I'd love to come back.
And I'll be rooting for you at the Gotham Awards when they are announced at the end of November, and also future awards. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Well, I
you
just
being on
feel
the
so
show.
lucky to have gotten to make this movie. Honestly, if I never make another movie again, I feel like I made Mass.
Wow, it is. It's very powerful. Everybody, please seek out Mass when it comes to a theater near you. I definitely recommend seeing it in the movie theater for sure. So thank you again, Reed. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Dan.
If you have missed any of the Jan Price shows all about movies, you can go to my website, thejanpriceshow.com, or you can listen on wherever you get your podcast. And that's you can go to the iHeart Podcast Network, Apple, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Jan Price Show. Thank you all for listening.